games in Roblox always have a risk of being copied. Sometimes the copy becomes even more popular than the original, and sometimes it fails immediately. But in this video we will see some of the copied Roblox games that became extremely popular and that are now doomed to die. Starting from the first one. More than a year ago, during the Copper Age, the game called Grow Garden had appeared, and in record time it became insanely popular and absolutely destroyed all the charts. This game was continuing to develop and break new records every time. It was competing with the most popular titles on Roblox and with insanely popular games like Fortnite. It seemed like nobody can stop it, but then in August 23 of 2025, something crazy happened. No, the game didn't die. What actually happened was the admin abuse war, where Grow Garden and the Steel Brainrot was competing in player count during an admin abuse. Even though Grow Garden barely managed to win, after the admin war, things stopped going so smoothly for this game. Updates became repetitive, player count was dropping, and less players were playing daily, until finally it absolutely died and dropped to less than 50k average players, which was nothing comparing to its past success. You may ask me, how is it related to copy games by any way? Is Grow Garden not an original game? Well, not exactly, because a few months after, the new game called Garden Horizons was created. At first, it seems to repeat the path of Grow Garden by breaking all records and becoming nearly the top 1 game on Roblox. Most players will play it because they thought this game is gonna bring something new to their players, which Grow Garden couldn't do. For the first month, this game was averaging around 150k players, but after some time, players realized that there was absolutely nothing new. Even worse, unlike Grow Garden, Garden Horizons had less interesting mechanics, which made it even more boring and repetitive. Finally, the last factor that killed Garden Horizons was the comeback of Grow Garden. Recently, Gentle, the developer of Grow Garden, came back to the game and made a brand new update which brought a lot of players back, returning Grow Garden to the leaderboard. Unlike Garden Horizons, which completely died, averaging less than 1k players, which is absolutely horrible for the game that used to have more than 1 million CCU players. Steel Brainrot is one of the most successful games in Roblox history. It was also created in 2025, and even though it wasn't a very original game, it clearly was insanely popular. Over time, as the game developed, it had new mechanics, more players, and with more and more attention. During Grow Garden's fell off, after the admin war, this game was on top, peaking at 24 million CCU players. In no time, it reached over 50 billion visits and became the most successful game in the whole Roblox history. It became so successful that many developers are trying to recreate that success by making modded versions of Steel Brainrot or even other similar games built entirely around Brainrots. At first, those games couldn't even get a fraction of Steel Brainrot's popularity, but that had only lasted until the game called Escape Tsunami for Brainrot was created. Even though this game was worse than Steel Brainrot, and especially worse than other popular games in million ways, this game still got an enormous amount of attention in less than a week. What makes it even more funny is that the creator of Tsunami was the same guy who created Still a Character, making the Tsunami the copy of the copy of the copy of the another game. But what's not funny at all is that the Tsunami started killing Steel Brainrot, and while Sub was averaging less than 250 CCU players, Tsunami was peaking at more than 7 million players. Everything seemed amazing for Escape Tsunami for Brainrot at first. It was getting updates, YouTubers were making videos about it, and it was getting more and more attention and players every day. But just like Garden Horizons, this game just got too boring. It wasn't because it was worse than before, it wasn't because it was too pay to win or anything else. It was just because the players got too tired of it and it simply became too boring. That's why Escape Tsunami for Brainrot only has around 70k CCU players, while Steel Brainrot has 4 times more. But Escape Tsunami for Brainrot wasn't the only successful copy of Steel Brainrot. There was actually a lot more of those games than you think, and if you open the front page of Roblox, you can see a huge amount of Brainrot games like Swing for Brainrot, Be a Lucky Block, and much more. These Roblox games are actually quite successful and are not going to die. They're averaging a solid amount of players and many YouTubers are making videos about it. Still, let's be honest, these games will never be as successful as Steel Brainrot, and especially if you compare their online 2 weeks ago and their online right now. So we can easily consider those games dead. If If we're talking about more classic Roblox games than Grow Garden and Escape Snow Inferno, Murder Mystery 2 is the first game that comes to mind. This game was created some time ago by Nicholas, who created a game where 12 players spawn on the same map. 10 of them are innocent, who needs to survive the round without getting killed. One of them is murderer, who needs to kill all the innocent players, and the last player is a sheriff, who needs to kill the murderer. The idea originated from Gary's mod and a little bit from Among Us, so it was going to be successful from the very start, becoming the most popular game in Roblox that year. But just like it happens sometimes, many developers wanted to copy the success. So the same year, the game called The Mad Murderer was created. It was basically a copy of Murder Mystery, but it had more interesting mechanics which made players play Mad Murderer instead of a Murder Mystery, stealing all of its players. But Nicholas wasn't going to stop on that. He created a brand new game called Murder Mystery 2. This game wasn't just a better version of Murder Mystery, but most importantly, it was a better version of Mad Murderer. So the same way the Mad Murderer stole Nicholas's players, by being better, Nicholas got his players back by making a more successful game, which had more weapons, loot, remade maps, and with mechanics that let players craft stuff. Later on, the creator of the Mad Murderer tried to also create the sequel of his game, but the game felt so soulless and unneeded that it didn't get any players' attention. Murder Mystery and Murder Mystery 2 came back from that because its developer had an original idea, so he was the only one who knew how to make it better. While Mad Murderer's creator's goal was just to get money by copying someone else's game. That's why Murder Mystery 2 is on the top, while Mad Murderer is completely dead and forgotten by everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe, it will really help me out. See you in the next video. Goodbye!